Well, that was a bit rough. I didn't press thing. Well, that was a nice practice. Hi, I'm in bed at 2 o'clock in the morning because I've been woken up with a thought. So let's just call this one Trojan Juice's gutter philosophy, and I'd like to talk about accountability today. That being accountable for self is, I think, the most prime directive you can have. Do you find yourself self-medicating with either drugs, alcohol, illicit substances, food, whatever it is? Do you find yourself in that vein? Do you find yourself when others challenge that in you because it's uncomfortable for them, or you may do certain things, let's just directly say under any intoxicant, so maybe being under the influence of too many donuts won't do it, you know? But let's face it, the craving for sugar and the craving for alcohol and the craving for dopamine can all get mixed up, can't it, folks, I'm not a person that likes to talk about necessarily. I believe that, okay, I'm going to put it this way. I believe that any program of what might be called recovery might be kept out of the media. It's in their traditions, that those kind of programs are a program of attraction. What do I mean by that? I mean by, if you are making a process of change, whether you're an alcoholic or not, say you decide to stop drinking because your kidney's stuffed, you could go along to a 12-step program and do that if you are having a struggle. And you might find out about yourself, because what those programs are is you find out that it's got nothing to do with the alcohol and everything to do with resentment. What's a resentment? Well, a resentment is to refeel something. It's like a trauma response. But maybe it's not trauma. Maybe you're refeeling stuff that you're totally and utterly accountable for too. But it is often the case, isn't it, that people who've suffered, brain injuries or starved of oxygen have impulse controls and heightened emotions and things like that. And, if you've got an acquired brain injury, or you were starved of birth of oxygen by your umbilical cord and died, it's probably not a good idea to intoxicate the brain. I used to do videos here that I posted to Facebook and everything. I think I've taken them off my page. I might put them back up. But I was talking about how alcohol is no good for PTSD, because it doesn't allow you to. And believe me, I'm not on a big AA rant or recovery rant or NA rant or any of those things. Look, I've identified them now in the video, and I don't like to do that, but I'm not a big rant about that. I don't do active recovery in rooms, and I'm doing what I call discovery, because it's not about personalities, it's about principles. And I can get the idea of what's in 12-step programs, or the idea of looking at the self, Carl Jung principles, understanding what's in your shadow, and come to that in my own introspective work. But what I'm saying is, say you're a person attempting to do that, and you're doing it around others who aren't being accountable for their, say, drinking. Just, that's the example, for their drinking. And every time you were to try and approach that with them, right, and say that it's really uncomfortable, there's a lot of forgetfulness when the person drinks, and you've got to be careful when you broach it to them, because if they're drinking and they're self-medicating because of their own resentment, their own refeeling of things that happened to them probably long before you ever come into the picture, you're asking Linus to give up his security blanket. And I don't know if Linus is going to like that too much, Good grief, Charlie Brown. How dare you ask me to take away, How dare you, Chuck, ask me to give you my security blanket, my bottle of alcohol? Well, Linus, oh, Chucky is getting suffocated by your security blanket, mate. It's all right when you walk around with your security blanket wrapped around you, sucking on your thumb. And believe me, I've been Linus too, And Chuck's just my nickname. And I get that from someone very special in my life whose nickname is also Chuck, right? So I stole that as a kid because I had an identity crisis. So Chuck's now just a character for me. You're speaking to Troy. This is Troy, by the way, even though it's Trojan Juice Age, which is just my stage name, you know. Name's Troy. Juice Age is something else. Not going to get any explanation. So Linus's blanket, you know, you can't rip Linus's blanket off. But what if you've constantly tried to remind Linus that when he's not using his blanket as an excuse and he's just giving himself his own self-comfort through understanding, his blanket can be that he understands himself. He understands he's had some really poor experiences, understanding that he's been infantilized a lot maybe in his life, talked down to, not treated well with respect. And I know that happened to me a lot, you know, that for someone that was ripped from his mother at birth, half dead, there's a primal scream in me to be attached to people, you know, attachment or detachment disorders. I've had to go through and work all that out. I'm 50 years old. I don't have much time left. So I'm really grateful for the introspective work that you can do through such programs, you know. So you could do that. You could apply Carl Jung. Go and look up what he talks about. Shadow work. Everyone's like, yeah, shadow work. But do they understand what they're doing and what the shadow is? It's the monsters inside that you don't want. Jordan Peterson talks about it, right? What would you change? The Pinocchio story, defeating chaos, coming out of order into chaos, defeating the great Leviathan, you know, the dragon that chases its tail, chaos. What do we call heroin or bloody different drug addictions, you know? Powder addictions, whether, you know, it's chasing the dragon, isn't it? Isn't it? You know, so you can do that with alcohol too. You can chase the dragon. That you put yourself in chaos with intoxicants again and again and again and don't solve the riddle. Go to Pinocchio, look at it. What does he do? He runs off to Fantasy Island, drinks, grows jackass ears, you know, and continues to be a real boy, a little boy. And it's not till he goes into the belly of the whale, right? Rescues Geppetto, his father, so becomes a real man by rescuing his own father. In other words, you know, he's not placating himself or being subject to anyone. He's accountable for himself. He doesn't need anyone to tell him when his behaviour is wrong or out of sorts or affecting others. He's able to self-regulate. And how can you do that if you are intoxicated and off your face all the time, feeling sorry for yourself? Re-feeling. You can't. And if you are challenged with it and you are putting it on to other people, then it's you, my friend, whoever you are out there in the world. And I have done it too. It is you not being accountable for self, and that's a passive-aggressive abuse. And then if you go whinging that person's been angry with you, yelled at you, or even put hands on you, you're putting hands on them, metaphorically. If they say to you they don't want drinking around them, and then you go and up the ante, you know, if it's a well-known stated fact that a person that doesn't drink doesn't want drinking in their home, and you drink, and they don't know how to tell you, then you're intimidating them with your drinking because they can't tell you. And they may just placate you and say, you know, not say anything or let you do it because they're in actual fear of your response when they challenge your drinking or your intoxication. So what I think people in the recovery programs find is they recover a part of themselves that's in control, that doesn't point fingers when they feel like they're being asked to be accountable. Because asking someone and calling someone to account is not finger pointing and is not manipulation and it's not abuse. Unless, of course, you're using it as a tool to do that, to not be accountable for yourself. So, you know, then it just becomes tit for tat. That's what we call tit for tat. And it's really painful, isn't it, folks? So are you seeing yourself in either of the characters that I'm displaying here? And are you willing to be accountable for yourself? Are you willing to not intoxicate yourself so that you can sit with your feelings? Or are you willing to be accountable that when you are under an intoxicant and someone challenges it, that you're not going to blame them and put your drinking on them? Does your drinking pre-exist the episodes with that person? That's all the evidence you need. But again, if under the influence of intoxicants, you're not going to be able to process that, recognize that. Are you? And then whose fault is it when it comes to blows? Well, the person is not taking account. The person who's decided that intoxicants are more important than stability, more important than accountability, more important than anything else, you know? And yeah, left to your own devices, drinking, if you're not challenged by it, there may be no gnashing of teeth. You may not be a violent person. You may only be violent when people challenge your drinking, right? But what about the other ways that a person who drinks excessively, not even the alcoholic, just drinks excessively, can be passively, aggressively abusing people around them? Well, their forgetful nature. You remind the person that's doing the drinking, and let's call it self-medicating. Let's get away from it being alcohol and being anything. So the person that's self-medicating, you challenge them about their self-medication and how that affects their memory, affects, say, the commitments they've made, and it seems to be that they self-sabotage that a lot. Are you being abusive, or are you calling someone to account? I'll let you decide. I know what the answer is for me. I'm not going to give you my answer. I think it's pretty clear that what my answer is. So what's the gutter philosophy? You know, philosophy means love of wisdom, by the way. And how can you be trying to act in wisdom if you're intoxicated on something or self-medicating so that you don't re-feel your past? You can't sort out your past, and so therefore when you do that and you have conflict with others, you are bringing them into your past. You are the one living in the past. A person who brings up their past in order to change it, their future, is not living in the past. They are self-assessing, and to gaslight them and make them feel as though they are living in the past is just downright wrong. So I think I've talked enough. That's a 13-minute video, folks. I'm going to go back and review it and watch it for clarity. But what I'm getting to for is gutter philosophy challenge for the day. Are you re-feeling things from your past, or even currently, like last week, and are some of those things you're re-feeling caused by actions around intoxicants or around self-medication? Ask yourself, are you self-medicating? Ask yourself, what can I do? Not what will others do, or what can I do, or, oh, if you didn't challenge my drinking, I wouldn't drink so much. Wait a minute. If you didn't challenge my self-medicating, I wouldn't self-medicate so much. It's your fault. Thank you, uniporn. You know, that's a uniporn attitude. I'll get to, I think I've done the unicorn video, but I need to do more. Anyway, we're coming up to 15 minutes. That'll be a YouTube clip. This has been Trojan Juice Age Gutter Philosophy. I'm Troy. Lift yourself up by the gutter. Self-accountability is the way. If you are re-feeling or resenting things today, it's up to you to look at those resentments and not expect others to carry them for you in your self-medication. Have a fantastic day.